其实大部分中国的年轻人，他们在接受性教育的过程当中，很多都是靠这个日本的这些 AV。
Sit down, kiddo. We need to have a talk about the birds and bees. This is going to be a tough topic, but we'll get through it. And of course, I'm just messing around here. We're going to be talking about the birds and bees in China. And we're going to be talking about why sex education is very weird and also quite lacking in China. Now, I know a bunch of you guys are going to go down into the comment section and say, but there are 1.4 billion Chinese people. Of course they know about sex, of course. But there's a big difference between, sex education and the biological process of procreation. Of course, it's all built into us and we don't need to know about it in order for it to happen. And this is a very interesting thing. This is something that is incredibly different about China. And there are a couple of reasons why, and we're going to go into it. And before we go into it, I'd like to give you my observations. You see, China has only very recently begun this big urbanization project. Previously, it was a, majority sort of agrarian society. In other words, people living on farms. Most of society was in some way involved in farming. And if you are farming and you're tending animals and you've got pigs and cows and whatever on your farm, you don't really need sex education because they will teach you everything you need to know about sex just by looking at their behavior, learning how they breed, So you don't need to ask your parents, where do I come from? Because you kind of see where little pigs come from and little cows come from. But with this vast move to the urban centers, that sort of part of Chinese life has largely gone away for a huge portion of the population. And it's these people that are left clueless because the traditional values of Chinese culture prevents parents talking to their children about such things because it's seen as embarrassing. And that's, I guess, kind of worldwide in any culture. It's never an easy topic to bring up with your children. But in China, even more so because of the traditional mindset. Now, I was lucky enough during the shooting of my recent documentary to meet up with a guy who's he's kind of fighting a battle in China when it comes to sex education. He runs the largest sex shop in China, in Shanghai, and I went to go and meet him. And if you've seen the documentary, you'll see we talked about all sorts of very important topics with regards to sexuality in China. But we talked about a lot of other things which didn't make it into the show. But luckily, I can show you guys some of the parts that were cut out, which are just equally as important as far as I'm concerned as the parts that made it into the documentary. So without any further ado, let's go straight over to that segment.
很多的小孩子都会问父母说：“哎，妈妈，我是从哪里来的？”对，大部分的中国的父母都会说：“你是从垃圾堆里捡来的，或者是你是充电话费送的。”对，小孩子根本就没有办法从这个渠道来获知，就是一些最基础的，就是人性的东西。至少在我看来，我觉得这件事情是有些小问题的。当然，现在国内的一些性教育的工作者，他们也在努力，就是来帮助这些父母，让他们学会就是如何去把这些问题给到孩子一个完美的答案。
非常好。Yeah, it's very good to know that this kind of thing's improving in China, but yes, the older generation, they really don't want to approach the topic of sex, and especially if the children ask where they come from, they have all sorts of funny excuses like you came from the rubbish or you were delivered here, things like that. Pretty interesting. 我好久以前是在腾讯工作，那个的时候他们让一个日本人他是一个明星，一个 AV 的明星过来，那个苍井空。我觉得有一点奇怪，因为好多男人来那边要看他。他们都知道他，但是在中国那个 AV 不能看，所以为什么他们认识他？
其实大部分中国的年轻人，他们在接受性教育的过程当中，很多都是靠这个日本的这些 AV 这个 movie 来学习的。但是里面有很多错误的地方，就是可能他们是为了视觉效果，去做了一些错误的示范，但这的确是他们学习的唯一途径。 因为没有其他地方可以学。
我知道。
对，他们喜欢苍井空呢，我个人的理解是，就是他们给到了一个非常高的评价，叫德艺双馨，这是中文里面用来形容一个艺术家非常高的一个评价，就是你既有非常好的品格，有非常好的这个技术或者说这个表演，才会有这个称号。他们把这个称号就送给了苍井空苍老师。
苍老师，
对他们叫他苍老师，对，因为他的确教会了很多，就是宅男怎么去了解这个男女之事，怎么去这个学会跟女孩子去打交道，而且更重要的一点就是他丝毫不会去避讳说，哎，我做过这个事情，他会非常坦诚说，哎，我就是拍过这些电影，然后我也给大家带来了快乐。我很开心，就是它正好跟中国的传统的这种思维模式是相反的。中国的传统的方式是，就是哎，你可以做，但是你不能讲，但他就会很光明正大的就面对大众，面对镜头，非常的开放。
明白。It's really, really interesting. You know, what I was just talking about is when I used to work for Tencent, this was a very long time ago, they invited a very famous Japanese porn star to come and have a speech there, and the lines there were these huge lines, like looked to me like tens of thousands of people came there just to see her, and it was quite interesting for me because, you know, pornography is of course completely banned in China. You're not supposed to watch it, but of course we're all human, and you know, humans find a way, and it was just so interesting to know that so many young Chinese men see her as a teacher, as has just been explained. And of course, because there isn't a lot of options when it comes to sex education and things like that, they end up watching pornography in order to learn what it's all about. So they have a lot of respect for her, and so they wanted to go there to obviously get a picture taken, or, you know, just to see her in the flesh. And it was quite the thing to witness, I must say.
I hope you guys enjoyed that little segment, and I actually want to just kind of add to it. And what I'd like to add to it is the fact that, you know, pornography it's just something that's never going to go away, and it's something that will always find its way into, you know, society. It's been something that's been around for thousands and thousands of years, since people could paint. You know, you see ancient Greek temples and, you know, ancient Indian temples and stuff with sort of, you know, sexual things going on, and it's just part of human nature. You can't get rid of it. Even though the Chinese government tries its best to pretend that sex doesn't exist and blocks it off from as many people as possible, you know, you can't really stop it from going there into society. And, you know, it was kind of weird when I got to China and I realized that there was no Chinese pornography. It's not that I'm a pornography connoisseur or anything like that, but I just found it kind of strange. And then to find out, because to be honest, when I got to China, I was very naive about China and the goings on there, because I didn't have a preconceived notion. I really just went there and I discovered this country that I'd heard little about, and I decided I wanted to go and live there. So I kind of learned, you know, the sort of trial by fire thing, and I figured things out along the way. And I can understand why Japanese pornography specifically is very popular in China. It's because it's very relatable. Not only is it a very big pornography industry from Japan, you know, the other big ones, obviously America, and I guess France or wherever, I don't really know. Like I say, I'm not a connoisseur. But the fact of the matter is, watching a pornography from Japan would be much more relatable, because Japanese people share some of the same genetics as Chinese people. They look the same, you know, for the most part. And so I can fully understand why Chinese guys would worship this Japanese porn actress and not have such an interest in, you know, the sort of Western stuff, because it's just not relatable. Also, don't forget that Chinese characters and Japanese characters, the kanji, are the same as traditional Chinese characters. Obviously, they've changed some meaning, and the pronunciation and the language structure is different, but they stand for the same things. So when I travel to Japan, I'm able to read the signs in Chinese. It's crazy because, yes, I can speak Japanese to a certain degree, but when I go to Japan, I'm actually reading the signs half in Japanese, half in Chinese, and I can figure out what it means. So, you know, you'll see a sign that says toilet, or a sign that says go here, or whatever, and I can read the Chinese characters and I can read the hiragana and the katakana. So, again, the sort of Chinese, the young Chinese guys can now be able to read the names of the Japanese porn actresses, and they can understand. And it's, like I said, much closer culturally to China than the West. So yes, I've got a lot more interesting stories and a lot more interesting little clips that are cut out of the documentary, which didn't make it in. And that's because we tried to keep the documentary down to sort of an hour and 20 minutes thereabouts, you know, the normal length of a movie, like a feature-length movie. And so there are entire scenes which just didn't make it into the documentary. But don't you worry, guys, because I'll be bringing them to you here on SerpentZA, and probably 1 or 2 clips on ADVChina as well. So honestly, for those of you who actually saw the documentary, thank you. I'm super, super grateful that you decided to support that project of mine. I shot this last year, just near the end of last year, and I've been waiting patiently while my producer Rick kind of does the editing, because when it comes to the big documentaries that I've done, Conquering Northern China, Conquering Southern China, Stay Awesome China, I don't do the editing on those. I'm just kind of I do some fixing, I'm the sort of actor in there, you know, I go and do the thing, but at the end of the day, it's Rick and some other people behind the scenes that are actually doing all the editing and putting it all together. So big shout out to those guys for making a fantastic documentary. I really enjoyed it, and I think it's probably the most important thing that I've done so far, just to be able to show some of the real characters and some of the struggles that some people are going through in China, this very, very interesting country. I forgot to explain something. You know, during the interview, he said Jinan, when he was talking about, you know, she's basically taught sex to a lot of Jinan, and it was translated indoorsmen. Jinan basically means somebody who kind of stays in the house, kind of like a nerd or an otaku or a basement dweller is probably the best. You know, neckbeard basement dweller is kind of the Western equivalent that we'd use. And like I said, some of my best friends are Jinan. Anyway, I just thought I'd explain what that actually means. But we're done. It's time for me to drink this. You see, all the ice is melted. Thanks, guys. Now I'm going to drink a watery whiskey. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this, I think, fairly interesting video. Also, have to point out, and this is not about promoting anything, but the documentary's out there. Please go take a look. And ADVChina, over on ADVChina, we did a fantastic episode while we were riding through the beautiful scenery in Taiwan. And we were talking about just sexuality in China and our experiences that we've had there. And it's definitely worth a watch. So basically, what I'm going to do this week is I'm going to say down here, I would like you to go to that ADV video because it's very much related to what I've just talked about. But don't forget that every single Wednesday, you'll be able to catch a Laowa 86 video at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And every Friday, you can see another one of my videos, pretty much 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So cheers to all of you guys out there. Hope you have a fantastic weekend. Love you all. And as always, stay awesome.